The Financial Review front page tomorrow encapsulates the mood in Melbourne as we speak, and we'll also have a look at the Herald Sun COVID code red. Melbourne on the edge of lockdown. Melbourne is on the edge of its fourth lockdown, with health authorities and state cabinet in crisis meetings last night as they race to contain the ballooning COVID-19 outbreak, which has risen to 15 cases and more than 60 exposure sites. Acting Victorian Premier James Merlino said earlier yesterday the next 24 hours were critical, with exposure sites now extending beyond the northern suburbs to the wider city and regional Victoria, including the MCG, Marvel Stadium, bars, cafes, shopping centres and a car finance workplace in Port Melbourne. And, of course, the splash on the Herald Sun, COVID code red QR system struggles again as nightclubs and bars in exposure zone welcome revellers without checks. Caleb, I guess the question tonight is, why would anyone want to live in Victoria right now?
Indeed, and having spent a little bit of time in Melbourne a couple of months ago, one of the things that really struck me when I was there is that they have compulsory QR code check-ins like most of the country does, but they don't have a unified system. So every venue you go to, every pub, every restaurant, every shop you walk into has its own QR code system, and most of these are sort of privately operated things that a business has signed up to. So what that does is, A, it hands over that information to private entities, who I'm sure a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing, because you don't then know where that information is going to end up. Are you going to end up on mailing lists? Is your phone number, etc., going to be sold on? Are you going to get spam calls? Is the venue you're going to sign you up to an email newsletter? All these kinds of things. The other thing that it does is makes it very difficult to sign in. In South Australia, in New South Wales, in Western Australia, which are all the places I've been to of late, they have a unified QR code check-in system which is run by the state government, and there is an app that allows you to operate that system. So every time you walk into a pub or any other joint, you scan the QR code, your details automatically come up and you simply press check-in. You can't do that in Victoria. So it is no surprise that people are discouraged from checking in with QR codes, because it is being made as difficult as possible to comply with the system. How it has taken this long for someone to realise this, I don't know. I mean, they still haven't done anything about it. Why has no one in the Victorian government said, oh, hang on a minute, maybe we should have a unified QR code system. Let's make it as easy as possible for people to use it. I mean, it is utterly bizarre, isn't it? What a concept, what a concept. And I'm sure it's the same in Queensland. You have a unified system. You only put your details in once and you check in. It is just so easy to do. We know. Go on.
Caleb, can I just... you're too young to remember a show called Get Smart. It was one of the great...
No. I may be young, but I'd quite enjoy Get Smart.
Well, that's what this Victorian cabinet reminds me of. It reminds me of, Maxwell Smart talking to the chief and just this comedy of errors. I mean, seriously, you cannot make this stuff up. Why don't we adopt
good thinking,
a QR code that's integrated and works like they do in the other states? I mean, and I can't understand. I keep asking the question. I ask, just about every guest we have on, why is it that Andrews continues to be popular? I mean, the guy is a disaster.
I know. It's bizarre, isn't it? And, there's a saying that the people never get it wrong, but by George, this is just bizarre stuff. I mean, how can a guy bungle it up so much, so frequently, with such disastrous consequences and still be a popular leader? And I'm not really sure why it is. Perhaps we are just weirdos, Peter, and we just happen to like freedom and these kinds of things. It would seem that a lot of people actually enjoy the long arm of the law being used to sort of, subdue people because it makes them feel safe. They feel safe that someone comes out and says, I'm going to do something strong. But the Victorian government fails the Victorian people over and over again. We know that the best defence you can have against the spread of coronavirus behind the vaccine is a strong contact tracing system. South Australia has one of those. We've proved we can use it. New South Wales has one of those. They've proved they can use it. If you have a strong contact tracing system, there's no need to go into any lockdowns. You find the cases quickly, you quarantine them, you find the people they've been with, you very quickly get on top of it. There is no need for any kind of lockdown. I will be very disappointed if Victoria, on the strength of one case that they cannot track back to someone else, goes immediately into a snap lockdown. Work harder on your contact tracing.